A lot of small businesses are looking at CMMC Level 2 and asking the same question. How are we supposed to afford this? And let's be frank, that's probably why you clicked into this video, because you're wondering, is there a cheaper way to get Level 2 CMMC certification? The answer to that, there is, and it's a fair question for you to ask. Because CMMC Level 2 certification, you know it, I know it, it's not just another logo, it's not just another cybersecurity checklist. This is about making sure that small contractors, large contractors, subcontractors, information IT providers, manufacturers, that companies that want to do business with the Department of War, Department of Defense, are able to do it. Because CMMC is an existential question for many of these businesses. And it's honestly the difference between competing for a Department of War opportunity and being completely locked out of the work, even though you're fully capable of performing and may have even performed the same type of services to the Department of War previously. And the cost that you're thinking about, well, that's not imaginary. It's not hyperbole. DoD's own estimate puts that at a 3-year cost of $104,000 for a CMMC Level 2 C3PAO certification. That's a lot of money over 3 years. And for a lot of small contractors, that number right there stops the entire CMMC Level 2 conversation, but it shouldn't. I'm going to get into why. The business reason for CMMC Level 2 certification is where you need to focus. That's where you need to focus. And that's where the conversation needs to start. Because CMMC Level 2 does not always mean the same assessment pathway. In fact, guaranteed, it doesn't. Because CMMC Level 2.0 has 2 different paths. One is your self-assessment path, and the other is your Level 2 C3PAO Certification Assessment. I want you to remember this, C3PAO. Those are not the same things. And by the way, this is how I'm going to save you a lot of money by helping you understand that there's a difference and there's real money that you can save if you choose the correct CMMC Level 2 certification for your business. But before we get into kind of the differences, let me talk about the most expensive one just real quick. The Level 2 C3PAO path is the most expensive path. And it's the one that you're thinking about. It's the one that your boss is thinking about. It's the one that everybody is thinking about and they think about first. And that's the third-party assessment path. A certified third-party assessment organization, this is where you get the C3PAO acronym from, reviews your environment, validates your evidence, evaluates your controls, and performs a certification assessment. This path, by the way, is the expensive one. And it's not always required, by the way, for all DoD or DOW contracts. But if you know which path you're going down, you'll know which way to go. The Level 2 self-assessment is different. With Level 2 self-assessment, you, the contractor, can perform your own assessment, submit the results into SPRS, and then complete the required affirmations. DoD's own estimates for this pathway for small businesses over 3 years is $37,000. Now, I get it. $37,000, that's real money. It's a lot of money to be able to put out there, but the conversation is very different. The choices are very different than if we're talking about $104,000. But before you jumping up and saying, great, I got this easy path to go down, let me just break it down to you. Level 2 self-assessment, that path isn't easy. It doesn't mean you can just fake it. And it definitely doesn't mean that you can ignore CMMC, CUI, or even NIST SP 800-171. But it really means that for certain opportunities, you do not have to jump immediately into the more expensive third-party C3PAO assessment path. And I want you to key in on another unique phrase, for certain opportunities. Because you don't get to choose whether or not it's a Level 2 self-assessment or it's a Level 2 C3PAO because of how much it costs you. The solicitation issued by the contracting officer controls the required level, and it controls the assessment. Now, previously, what most of the solicitations had was a Level 1. That's gone. So what you're looking at across DoD, DOW, is a Level 2, whether that's a self-assessment or C3PAO. And there's also a Level 3, and this is really rare, and it's in high sensitivity cases. And it's basically a CMMC level assessment type that is government assessed. Don't worry about that. I'm just giving you the levels. So the question, really what you're asking isn't, do I need CMMC Level 2? The question is, which path, which CMMC Level 2 certification path does my pipeline, my capture pipeline, my strategy actually require? Because the difference is going to change your budget, your timeline, and your entire capture strategy. And you need to make the right one. Because if you're looking at a pipeline where 90% of everything you want to go after is a level 2 self-assessment, well, you're costing yourself a lot of money going after C3PAO, and you might not need it at this point in time, unless you really want to win that extra 10%. But if you go the other way and you get self-assessment and 90% of what you want to go after is C3PAO, well, you've lost a lot of opportunity money that you're not able to go after anymore. And you know this is important because federal contracting represents hundreds of billions of dollars in small business prime and subcontract opportunities. You also know that the Department of War, Department of Defense, is the biggest buyer in the government market when you're taking a look at this kind of whole pie that they have control of. So when a business cannot get through the CMC barrier, it's not just missing a compliance badge, it's missing real contract revenue. And that's even worse if it's not just because you can't get through it because of some odd reason about how you've set up your network. It's terrible if you don't do it because of the cost. What you need to understand is that when you look at where you want to go, you don't want to be underprepared, but sometimes being overprepared just means you've wasted a lot of money. One is going to cost you a contract. The other one is going to cost you a lot of cash. For small businesses, cash flow, that's your lifeblood. So what do you need to do? Well, first off, start by reading the actual opportunities and solicitations that have come before and that are going to be coming ahead to understand what level of CMMC 2 certification do you need. Next part is I want you to take a look at whether your systems are going to store, process, or transmit controlled unclassified information. This is the CUI during performance. Then I want you to connect that CMMC path that you think you're going to go down to the business case. How much the opportunity is worth? Is it realistic for you to win or even go after? And then understand, are there any other opportunities? Because once again, this is a business case. This is simply return on investment. Now, I don't want you to avoid CMMC because of the cost or the time. You need to understand this. You're losing a lot of money if you don't. I don't want you to cut corners. I don't want you to pay for going down the wrong path. But most importantly, if you leave with anything else, you have to understand CMMC Level 2 is not one single cost path. There's a Level 2 self-assessment that's roughly about $37,000 over 3 years. And there's a Level 2 C3PAO, which is about $104,000 over 3 years. Your pipeline is going to tell you which one you need to go after. And knowing the difference before you start spending the money doing this planning, that's going to make the difference between whether or not you're going to protect your cash flow, protect your opportunities, grow your business, or you're going to price yourself completely out of the Department of War market. And this helped you understand the CMMC kind of pipeline, landscape, what's happening. We're doing a series on it. I'll put the playlist link below in the comments. If you got any questions about this, please comment down below. We try to answer every single comment as they come in, or at least respond to them. And as always, I really appreciate you watching this.